Hello everybody and welcome to another Canva tutorial. Now this tutorial is not just for my educators. If you work in the corporate space and you're constantly making presentations, then this video is also for you. I'm going to show you today how you can create a presentation in 3 different ways. 1, using a blank canvas and starting from scratch. 2, using an already made template. And 3, getting Canva AI to create the presentation for you. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I am Patrina Burke, the founder of Immediately, a social media marketer, as well as a Canvasador. I spent 15 years in the education sector where I taught at brick and mortar schools and online schools, and now I've transitioned to training educators of how to use Canva in their classrooms, as well as training business owners of how they can use Canva to grow their brand on social media. So, with that in mind, let's get started and let me show you how you can create your presentations. So, firstly, you need to open up Canva and have a look at your dashboard. Now, on your dashboard, we are going to select presentation, and I'm going to show you how you can create your presentation from scratch. So we select presentation and it will open up our presentation. And now we have a blank canvas. I can change the color by clicking on the presentation and selecting the background color wheel. And I can choose a plain color. I can choose a color maybe that suits my brand identity kit. Or I can make it fun and exciting by going to elements and choosing an image. So let's say, for example, I want to create a corporate presentation for this example. So I can type in corporate and I can go and have a look for a photo that has a corporate feel. And let's say, for example, I like this picture. I can select the picture and it will add it to my design. And then I can just right click and select set image as background. Now I have an image that's set as my background, and now I can also change the transparency, because maybe if I add text, having such a bright image, it might make my text unreadable. So I can select the transparency icon and I can dim the image. And I normally like to work between 35 and 40, especially if I have text over an image. So let's go and set it as 35 for now. And then we can go and select text. And now I can add a text box, or if I've got my brand identity kit set up, I can select a pre-selected font. So now I can type the topic of the presentation. And then I can also change the fonts. So I can select font and change to different styles of font if I don't have a particular font that I work with as part of my brand identity kit. Now that you've got the topic of your presentation, you can also add in a subtopic. For example, if you want to say created by, and then we can make it smaller. We can insert it in the bottom. We can add a ribbon by selecting R on our keyboard, and then we can drag this rectangle square shape across. We can change the color. We can center the text. We can drag our mouse over the shape and the text and right click and select a line and align it in the middle. We can change the color of the ribbon, let's say to white. And let's say, for example, I want to include my logo. I can select brand because I've already set up my brand kit. I can select all and I can go and choose the logo that I want to include in this presentation. I can resize it and drag it to the position that I want it. Now that I've created my front cover, now I'm able to add in other pages by selecting this add page button, and then I can add a page. Again, I can start with the background by selecting elements and then going and having a look for an image that I like. Let's say, for example, this one. Right click, select as a background, select the image, select transparency, and bring the transparency down to 35. Okay, sometimes you can just type it, 35. And there we go. Now I've got my background. Let's say, for example, this page is going to be my agenda page. I'm going to select text. I'm going to go and type agenda. And then I'm going to go and change my font to a font that I like. And now I can set my agenda. So let's say, for example, with my agenda, I want to number the points and I want to be a bit fancy. I can go to elements, I can clear the photos, I can go to my graphics, and I can search for numbers. This gives me different options. I can choose one of these options if I like, and then to see the different range, you can select, like let's say, for example, this one, it will come up with magic recommendations, and if you click on it, then you normally see others in the same style range. Now, if I look at this example, this is great. I like the style, but it's very limited. It only goes up to number 5. So that's great if I've only got 5 points in my agenda. But let's say, for example, I've got more than 5 points. Then I can go and look for another option, or I can even create my own. I can create my own by selecting on the letter C on my keyboard, resizing it and typing the letter 1 in the center. I can highlight it and change the size of my 1. I can also make the number bold. I can change the font if I'd like to change the font. And there I've got my number 1 for my agenda. I can copy and paste this by selecting it and selecting Control C and then Control V on my keyboard. And then I can just copy and paste it as many times as I need. I can change the color of the circles. For example, if I want to make these a nice bright yellow, maybe I want to vary the colors, I can select other colors. And if I want to change the text to a different color, I can change it to a different color by selecting the text and changing the color. Right, now I'm able to add text to my numbers. I select text, I add another text box, and then I can drag the text next to the number, and I can say 0.1. And this is center aligned. So I'd like to right align it and then drag it so that it's centered with my point, my 1. I can also drag my cursor and select both elements, and then right click and select align elements and middle to make sure that they are aligned nicely. This just adds to the neatness of your presentation, and everything just looks more professional. Okay, and then you can right click and copy and paste it again, and then you can change 0.2 to 0.3. So there we go. I've got my agenda. If I want to move the points, I can highlight them all by clicking on the page and dragging my cursor, and then I'm able to move them all together. Right, so that just makes things quick and easy. So this is if I want to create my presentation from scratch. Now, what if I want to create a presentation using a template? Well, then from your dashboard, you will select templates, and then you can search for literally any template. So let's say, for example, going back to teaching, let's say you are an English teacher and you want to create a lesson on nouns. So you can search for nouns, and there literally thousands of templates will come up, and you can just scroll through them, scroll and hover your mouse over the presentation to see what is covered in this presentation. You can also have a look at the style. Does this style suit my teaching needs for a particular lesson? Will it attract the students that I'm teaching? Does it cover the material that I need? But remember, you can also always make changes. So let's say, for example, we're going to teach plural nouns. I like this presentation. It's nice and colorful. You can have a look at the different pages at the bottom. And then you can also see what grade this presentation was created for. It was created for grade 1s to teach them vocabulary and grammar. It's part of the English language arts category. And you can even see the person that created this presentation. You can go and follow them. You can select their name, and you can have a look at different presentations that they have also created. So if you want to now go and make changes, you can select customize this template. And you are able now to make changes to this presentation. So let's say, for example, I don't really like this font, although I do, but to show you how you can change the font, you can just select font and you can go and change the font. All right, and then you are also able to, let's say, for example, if you want to change this font in the entire presentation, you can do that as well. Let me show you again. You're going to select change the font. and then you'll select change all, and then it will change all the fonts in the entire presentation for you. You might need to recenter it or adjust the size. You can do that as well. All right, and this looks really great, and I don't see the need to make any big changes. I think this suits my lesson quite well. It also has explanations about and rules about plural nouns, which is great. So I can use this presentation as is. I've used a template. I've just made slight changes and I'm able to use it. It has saved me time instead of having to create a presentation from scratch. So let me show you now how you can create a presentation with AI. So depending on your version of AI, if you've got the pro version or the education version, then you will have access to Canva AI. It also depends on how your school has set up your Canva. If you have a private teacher account, then you should have access to it. But if you are using your school's email address, or if you used your school's email address to sign up on the Canva version, your organization might have changed the settings. So if you don't have access to Canva AI and you need to use it, speak to your organization and see if they can change the settings for you. So now you're going to come to Canva AI and you're going to select design because we want to design a presentation. And then you're going to select presentation. You can also choose your audience. So for example, let's make ours educational. You can choose the style that you want it, and you can even choose the length that you want your presentation to be. I normally go, depending on the grade that I'm teaching, either a short and sharp presentation or a balanced presentation. I try not to go more than 15 slides because then it gets a bit overwhelming for the students. And now you need to describe what you want Canva AI to create. So let's say, for example, we want you to create a math lesson for grade 5 learners on multiplication. All right, on multiplication, and then we can submit it. There's a nice feature here as well where you can use chat using voice. So if you select chat using voice, you can actually record yourself. All right, and then you can just end the recording. So that's also just a nice feature. So let's quickly go back. I deleted my prompt. So create a math lesson for grade 5 on multiplication. And obviously you can be more specific with your prompt. You can select which types of multiplication you want it to do. Do you want them to work at the multiplication sums in a certain way? You can be more specific. This is just for demonstration purposes. The better and more detailed your prompt, the better your lesson or the presentation will be, because Canva will then create it based on your prompt. So we select submit, and now we let the Canva AI create this presentation for us. What's really great, or what I really love, is that it first generates an outline where you can then change it up and change the slides or change the examples and make any changes that you want. So here's the outline. You can add in, for example, if you want to, here's it says author or teacher's name and date. You can fill that in now already by selecting the pen and then going and adding in your name. Let's say, for example, P. Burke. And the date today is the 10th of the second month, 2026. Right, and then you can just make any changes that you want. When you're ready, you select generate the design. And what I really love is that it's not going to just generate one presentation, but it's going to generate 4 different presentations for you. That way you have the control and you can select which presentation will best suit you. Again, if you're from a corporate environment and you need to create a presentation with certain data, you can insert that data and let AI use that data and create the presentation for you. So this is not just for the educational field, but you can literally tell the AI how to create your presentation. You can feed it the information you want it to use. And then you can also make changes later. For example, if you want to use infographics and you want the presentation to use specific data, you can add that in later as well. So yeah, my AI has created the different presentations for me. I can go and select one that I like. So let's say, for example, I like this one. And I can then have a look. I can ask the AI to change anything. So remember, this is for 12-year-olds. Please make it look more mature and make it one level harder. Okay, so just to show you what it will do now. So now it will recreate the presentations for me by making it not to look as immature or childlike, because this, I feel, if I was in the classroom, it would appeal to grade 1 to 3s, but maybe not to a grade 5 learner. So let's see what the Canva AI creates. It's generating the presentations for me. There we go. So these look much better. That one even has I want to say leopard. Anyway, so let's say, for example, this one best suits my class. I can select it. It's generated it. It even has my name and the date. It has understanding multiplication as repeated addition, and so forth. And now, if I want to make further changes to the fonts and the colors, I can select Canva Editor, and I'm able to go and change the fonts by selecting the font, selecting multiple fonts, going and choosing a font that I want to use in my presentation. And there we go. If I want to change the font in the entire presentation, I select it as well, and then I select change all, and it will change all the font in my entire presentation to the font of my choice. Okay, if there's multiple different fonts, then I'll have to change the clear sans also, but the clear sans looks good for this demonstration. Right, and there we go. Now I have created a presentation. So we have spent about 20 minutes, and in these 20 minutes, I have created a presentation from scratch. I have used a template as well as using Canva AI. So you can see that by using Canva to create your presentations, it will save you time. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them below. And if you want to know how to share your presentation or how to present your presentation, then let me know in the comments and I'll create a video showing you how to then present your presentations and share them with your students or with your corporate team. Until our next video, have a wonderful time and enjoy exploring Canva. Bye!